I'm so educated and I'm so civilized, 'cause I'm a strict vegetarian.
Why isn't Abbott being flogged by the media?
And the Christian is salvation, the crazy politicians. I don't feel safe in this world no more. I don't wanna die in a nuclear war. I wanna sail away to a distant shore and make like an ape man. I'm an ape man, I'm an ape man, I'm an ape man. I'm a King Kong man, I'm a voodoo man, I'm an ape man. It's compared to the sun that sits in the sky, compared to the clouds as they roll by, compared to the bugs and the spiders and flies.
I don't mind totally personally. I think he's not a bad bloke, but as I said during the campaign, he's as mad as a cut snake.
The Abbott argument that you don't tax the polluters, you give them money, you give the polluters money to change their bad habits is tripe. Look, Tony, you know what Tony Abbott's policy is? If you don't give me the job, I'll wreck the place. If you don't give me the job, I'll wreck the place. And we're saying, oh, well, Tony, you better have it. Otherwise you might destroy it on us. I mean, Tony's got to have the political judo chop. That's what Tony has to have.
One of the things the Labour Party did not do during the campaign was to highlight the extent to which Tony Abbott is capable of changing his mind on important elements of policy. The climate change policy was one of them. If he's changed it once, he can presumably change it again. Indeed, he did tell us that he doesn't always say what he means. I think Tony Abbott would do what he felt he needed to do to get into power or have power, if that's going to be possible.
I also think that if you want to put a price on carbon, why not just do it with a simple tax?
If the simple challenge is to put a price on carbon, if you were to put a carbon tax on energy consumption, if you were to put a carbon tax on fuel consumption, and you would have gone down a path that everyone understands. So I think that would have been a much simpler way of going.
We say no to a carbon tax because we say yes to manufacturing industry. We will oppose the carbon tax in opposition and we will rescind it in government.
It was a very poor choice of words on my part. I shouldn't have used that word. I'm sorry that I used that word. It was just a bad choice of words, and
occasionally even politicians choose their words poorly. I was guilty of this.
Looking extremely frail, Bernie Badton got out of his sickbed this morning to personally deliver 17,000 signatures to the Health Minister at his Manly office, only to be told Tony Abbott wasn't in.
I think he's a gutless creep.
Let's be upfront about this. I know Bernie is very sick, but just because a person is sick doesn't mean that he is necessarily pure of heart in all things.
Have you met Archbishop Pell during the election campaign?
Not that I can recall.
Not that you can recall, because we believe that you've had at least one meeting with him quite recently.
Well,
you don't recall that? At the Presbytery in Sydney?
Actually, now that you mention it, I did meet with Carbon Pell. So what?
Tony Abbott feels with conviction we will not have a new tax. In any way, shape or form, we won't have a new tax. A month later, you do.
Well, again, Kerry, I know politicians are going to be judged on everything they say, but sometimes in the heat of discussion, you go a little bit further than you would if it was an absolutely calm, considered, prepared, scripted remark, which is one of the reasons why the statements that need to be taken absolutely as gospel truth is those carefully prepared, scripted remarks.
So every time you make a statement, we have to ask you whether it's carefully prepared and scripted or whether it's just something on the fly.
Look, we
no,
can...
seriously, this is a very serious question.
But all of us, Kerry, all of us, when we're in the heat of verbal combat, so to speak, will sometimes say things that go a little bit further.
Mr Abbott, we're not all leaders of major political parties who are either Prime Minister or aspiring to be.
True, and
would you agree that there is extra onus on you to be accurate and honest and make promises that can be trusted?
Absolutely right. But
that time you couldn't.
No, but the thing is, I made a statement in a radio interview in February, and then I think in March, I made a commitment to paid parental leave. Now,
which was the opposite of what you'd said a month before.
Well, it wasn't absolutely consistent with what I said the month before.
It was the opposite. 1 month you say no new tax, the next month you say a $2.7 billion tax.
But
Tony's got to have the political judo chop. That's what Tony has to have. The political judo chop. 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 Judo chop.